Hello and welcome to Cinnabar Collectibles, and today we're going to be looking at the Charizard EX deck post-rotation, which means that some of our old staples are now gone. Goodbye to our Rotom V, our Lumineon V, the ever-trustful Forest Hill Stone's gone, Thornton, which ended up winning me quite a few games, and my beloved Radiant Charizard are all gone. They've all rotated out of format now. But again, don't get rid of these cards, keep them in your collection. You don't know when you might be using them again. Especially if you play Gym Leader Challenge, you might be chucking a Radiant Charizard or a Thornton back into your deck. But we'll talk about Gym Leader Challenge another time. For now, let's get stuck into our post-rotation Charizard EX deck. First of all, you'll want 3 Charmanders. And these are the ones from 151 or Paldean Fates. Then you'll want 1 singular Charmeleon, so you can evolve into it, or use rare candies. Then we've got 3 Charizard EX with his amazing Infernal Rain ability, which lets him power himself up and put 3 fire energies, up to 3 fire energies, from your deck onto any of your Pokemon, in any way you like. And then we have our 2 Pidgeys, we have 1 Pidgeotto, and we have 2 Pidgeot EX with the amazing Quick Search ability, which lets you look for any card in your deck. Then we're running 2 Duskull, 1 Dusclops, and 1 Dusknoir. Now these two can blow themselves up with their Curse Blast ability, which means your opponent does get to take a prize. But for Duskull, you can put 5 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. And for Dusknoir, you can put up to 13 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon however you like. Next up we have Fezandipiti EX. If one of your Pokemon got knocked out last turn by an opponent's attack, you get to use the Flip the Script ability, so you can draw 3 cards. Then we have Cleffa, and for free you get to use Grasping Draw, which lets you draw cards so you have 7 cards in your hand, which is an incredibly useful Pokemon with free retreat so you can get it out. Next up we have our next attacker, which is going to be our Gouging Fire EX. Now because this Pokemon doesn't have an ability, it's able to attack through Stone Mask Ogerpon, so that can no longer wall this deck if you're running this. Some people run a Champao as well, but I quite like the Gouging Fire EX because it does 260. Then we come on to our supporters. We're going to be playing 4 Arven, which lets us search for an item card and a Pokemon tool. Then for a bit of disruption, we're going to be running 3 Ionos. We're also going to be running 2 Boss's Orders to let us gust up one of our opponent's Pokemon. And then we come to our one-off supporters. We've got 1 Professor Churro scenario to let us scoop up one of the Pokemon in play back into our hand, but all cards that are attached to it get discarded. Then we're going to be running 1 Briar. If our opponent is on exactly 2 prize cards remaining, we get to take an extra prize to allow us to do a 3 prize turn, which is amazing. Next up we have the Kieran supporter card, which lets us either switch our active Pokemon with one of our bench Pokemon, or do 30 extra damage to our opponent's active Pokemon EX and Pokemon V cards, although the Pokemon Vs are no longer around. Next up we have the very important Jack card, which lets us search for 2 evolution Pokemon. We can reveal them and put them into our hands, and this means that if we're using Technical Machine Evolution on our first turn to evolve our Charmander to Charmeleon and our Pidgey into Pidgeotto, we can then second turn go straight to Charizard, straight into Pidgeot and start doing some damage. Then we have 1 Night Stretcher to let us put either a Pokemon or an energy back into our hand from our discard. We're running 2 Nest Ball, so we can search for a basic Pokemon. And we're going to be running 4 Buddy Buddy Poffin to let us get 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less onto the field. Now we're going to be using 4 rare candies, so we can skip our Charmeleons and Pidgeottos and go straight from Charmanders into Charizards or Pidgeys into Pidgeottos. Now you might be thinking, you've got a lot of yellow border cards for a post-rotation deck. Well, don't worry, if you've got a yellow bordered card, you can still use it as long as the card has been reprinted. So for example, this rare candy has had a reprint, and so I can use the one with the yellow border, absolutely fine. And next up we've got 2 Super Rods, and that lets us put either any combination of either 3 Pokemon, 3 energy, or a mixture of both back into our deck. Now as you can see, this one here has got the silver border, and that's a new version of the card, and this here is actually an original one back from 2000, and because it's got an errata, you're allowed to use this one even now in tournament play. Then in this deck we're going to be using an Ultra Ball. We're going to have 3 of those, and we get to discard 2 cards from our hand, and we can search for any Pokemon in our deck. Really useful, especially when trying to grab Charizards, Fezzes, anything like that. Then we've got the Technical Machine Evolution, which lets us choose 2 of our bench Pokemon and we can evolve them. Now we're going to run 1 Stadium, and it's going to be an Artisan, which lets us search each turn for a basic Pokemon and put it into play, as long as it hasn't got a rule box. Then we're going to be running 2 Counter Catchers, which lets us swap our opponent's Pokemon as long as we're behind on prizes. Then we're going to be running 1 copy of Switch in the deck, and you might notice this is an original base set card, but that's absolutely fine because Switch has had a reprint in Scarlet and Violet. And then I've got my Ace Specker choice for this deck will be the Unfair stamp, which if one of our Pokemon has been knocked out, last turn we get to make our opponent go down to a 2-card hand and we get to draw 5 cards. And then finally, we're going to be running 6 Fire Energies. Now if you want to, there are a few honourable mentions that you can add to the deck. You might take out a Switch and instead add another Pokemon tool, this time being the Defiance Band, which if you're behind on prizes, lets your active Pokemon do 30 more damage. You might also use Budew, which means that you get to item lock your opponent. Budew is very, very popular at the minute, so it might be quite nice if you could use Itchy Pollen yourself, but instead I went for the Cleffa this time. You might even take out one of the other cards and put in another Charmeleon to make sure that you can use Technical Machine Evolution. I hope you've enjoyed today's video and looking at the new Charizard EX deck post-rotation. If you've liked the video, don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment down below. Thank you again for watching Cinderbar Collectibles. We look forward to seeing the next video. Thank you and good night.